Hi guys, it's Jess here from JesusWired, and I'm delighted today to be here with Mōriah. Hi Mōriah, how are you?
Hi, I'm so just happy to see you. Like I
Finally.
was saying before, it's one thing to hear someone's voice, but when you get to match it to a visual, you are every bit as kind and wonderful in your presentation as you are in your voice. So I'm just glad this is happening.
This is just like full of warm fuzzies. I'm really enjoying this. It's slightly like group therapy or catch up with coffee. I'm good with that.
Yes.
So, I start every interview by asking the question, asking someone to describe himself. People know who you are. So, what I want to know is how is Mōriah in 2021 different from Mariah in January 2020?
Oh my gosh. Woo! Okay, I feel like I'm going to have to create a certain scenario in order to play this out because I think I have to visualize 2019 Mariah and 2021 Mariah having a conversation. Can we
Okay.
do that? Can we do it that way?
Please. Yes.
Okay. I have to get into character. So, I think if 2019 Mariah were to walk up to 2021 Mariah and say, "Hey, how's it going?" 2021 Mariah would say, "Much better than how you're going." That would be the first statement. And then and then I would say, "But that's okay because what you're walking through right now is going to serve a very unique purpose. And all of the pain and the confusion and the questions are going to play a significant role in how you serve, love, and protect the creatives around you in 2021." And scene.
That was an amazing scene. I loved it. I couldn't have scripted that. Thank you. That was excellent. I love that. So
Oh, thank you.
your new EP is live from the Quarry. It
Hmm.
is your first official music release in 7-ish years, which is a really big deal, and a really big deal that you handpicked these three songs and put them onto a live EP. So can you tell me how this EP came about and what it means to you, if you can nail that down?
Yeah. Thank you for that question. By the way, is do you have people call you Jess, Jessica, Jessie?
You actually, sorry, people never ask me that. You can call me Jess or Jessica. Either's fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
Jessica. I will go with Jessica. I know Australians like add like the IE to everything. So it's
It's so
like
true. Yes. No, I'm good with Jessica. That's good. Thanks.
okay, Jessica. Thank you for that question. I think um thinking about where I was when I was writing the songs and where I'm at now as they're releasing or already released. Sometimes I tend to look at the beginning and the end of something in order to fully comprehend like the fullness of it. And when I first started writing these songs, I wrote them without any intention of sharing them with people, with the general population. I mean, I knew that there would probably be a chance that I would share them with my husband or my parents or my siblings, but I think writing in that way was very refreshing and healing to me because I had never the last time I wrote a song just for myself was probably in 6th grade, and I was writing about, jumping in a pool, It's like such a different way to approach songwriting. Um, and it wasn't even like a mind trick I was trying to play on myself of like, we'll just write this for you. And then, whenever you put it out, it'll really be personal. It was genuinely like, I just need to write to cope and to experience my own therapy so I can heal. And so fast forward to today, releasing this music and sharing it with people, and then hearing their responses, the feedback that I'm hearing, it's really unique to these songs because I've released music for a long time. I mean, even though the last time I released music in this particular space was my Brave record years ago, in between that and today, I released an EP and several singles for a band called Tra La. And so I've been releasing content for a long time. And so you kind of start to, each project gets a unique response, but this response was really special to me because I think people could hear the tone in my voice when I'm singing the
Yeah.
words, I'm running low on energy, or like, I let go of my life. I need to free fall before I fly. Like when you hear words like I need to know that I'm known, seen, and loved, that stuff is like heart cry stuff. And when I started to share the music a little bit wider, when we started to talk about, okay, should this music, and really the straw that broke the camel's back was my mentor coming to me and saying, hey, this music needs to be given to other people and given away because other people need therapy to heal from their heartbreak as well. And these songs can help. And so that made me realize, okay, I probably need to be a little bit more selfless in this process. But in preparing to, choose which songs to share, like there wasn't, this super gun ho response from some industry people, people who live and breathe like the Christian music space. A lot of them were just like, this is a little too desperate. This lyric is a little too personal. This is a little too, honest. And it's funny when I particularly heard the comment of like, this sounds a little desperate, and it wasn't meant as a compliment. That's when I was like, okay, then I think the song is ready. Then I think it's important that this one is released.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's the type of music that the world needs. And for what it's worth, when I was listening to the songs, the so I related to all of them in different ways, but the lyric that got me the most was letting go of ego. And it was that comment amidst your own heartbreak and pain and trying to grapple with forgiveness and acknowledging that something had been done wrong to you, that you were grappling with your own ego. I related to that so much because that's
Mm,
even in the last year and a half, we've all
mm,
had to acknowledge our own egos because our families and our world has become so divided and the church has become so divided. And even your self-awareness of that,
mm,
for me, is really profound. And I'm grateful for that in music because that's, I mean, for me, when people want honest music, that's what they listen to. That's, I don't know, that's not desperate for me. That's just honest. That's why, like, I mean, we talked a bit about it at the start before we recorded, and you're like, oh, you probably hear lots of different things in Christian music, and you've been part of Christian music much longer than I have. But it's that
mm,
constant battle of going, I love the idea of this. And there are certain songs and artists that I'm like, yes, right, drive that home. But there are other ones where I'm like, it doesn't quite feel right. And that's because the product we're selling isn't always fully authentic, or people don't want that. And so
yeah.
the fact that you're giving that, even in the face of rejection, is really, really
Mm,
cool. That turned into a mini TED Talk sermon. It wasn't meant to do that, but I was just really excited by it because I related to that as a woman, and I know that there are going to be so many other women who are similar to us and who are even like on the outskirts of the church who will see
mm.
that and hear that and be like, "There's a place for me here." And you, as a
Oh,
Mexican American woman, you're paving the way to do that by nearly taking on that criticism before it becomes acceptable and normal, which is really, really powerful and really cool. So that's
Thank
just,
you.
that wasn't even a question, but thank you. That's so important.
Aw. I would listen to you give a TED Talk any day. For what it's worth.
Um, this is this is probably a really poor question. Is there a track from the EP that stands out to you today? That's like, today this is my song.
Hmm. I think each song resonates at a different frequency based on the environment that I'm in and the people that I'm with. So, for example, I can listen to Known Seen Loved with my husband and he's like, "Oh my gosh, I love the production," or "I love that what Garrett decided to play on percussion," or and that is like how I experience the song. But then I could listen to the song with my dad, and my dad will get really emotional when he hears that song because he knows that in the very first demo and very first version of that song, I recorded it after and wrote it after he had shared a story about his mother who was abused. So like he'll hear it in that way, and then I'll experience it knowing that backstory. And then a couple weeks ago, I was invited to lead worship for a summit in DC for people who work in legislation and in combating human trafficking. And I mean, these are some of the most resilient men and women that I've ever met, to have survived that kind of industry and then commit your life to other survivors finding healing and rehabilitation. I mean, it's incredible. So I played the song at the request of the retreat leader, and I played Known Seen Loved on guitar, which I've never done before. I had to learn it, and just
Wow.
playing it in that room, um, it meant something completely different. All of a sudden it really resonated at the level of, even if there is justice, even if there is equal opportunity, even if your captor is convicted of a crime, you know, all of these things can happen. You could be restored power wise, health wise, money wise, all these things. But if at the very root you do not believe that you are known, seen, and loved by your creator, is any of it worth it? So many of these survivors, they have actually survived because they take the time to forgive and let go of their egos and believe that they are known, seen, and loved by God. So it depends on the environment, it depends on the people.
Yeah, that's an amazing story. I'm so glad that you could share that song with them.
Oh
Wow,
yeah,
that would just be life
it was
changing.
it was hard it was hard to sing it in the moment. I will say it was difficult to sing those words in a room like that with such inspiring people.
So I know you wrote all of these tracks and you produced them all, which is so exciting because when we spoke last time, you mentioned that you were just getting started on that track. So does your music take on a new meaning, or is it maybe even just a deeper or a more appreciation for it when you are part of the entire creative process and basically you get the final say so on the final song? Does that change how you feel about your music or your appreciation for it in any way?
I think if anything, it changes my connection to the songs. I appreciate a track that a friend has produced just as much as I appreciate something that I've produced. I think that my work is any better
Yeah.
than anyone else's. In fact, I think I have a lot to learn. And for people who have been producing for a decade, I've got a lot of work to do, and I'm constantly learning. Um, I will say, in producing all of these songs, there's such a beauty to interpretation, because when I first produced these demos, I heard them in a very specific way. So the versions that are out right now, the live versions, I had sent them to my neighbor, who was also the music director for the live From The Quarry performance. His name is Todd. We've led worship together at church before. He's just a really trustworthy, amazing man. And his wife is like my best friend. So I sent him all the demos and said, can you put together a band, and can you music direct, and can you create the live versions of these songs? So um, I love his interpretation. I love each musician's unique interpretation. And it's very different than how I had originally produced it. Trust, for example, is a super up tempo production and very like kind of aggressive. And then when Todd had sent back the live arrangement, it was like this like slow backbeat halftime groove song, and I was like, okay, this is not how I originally imagined it, but I love it for the live setting. It's perfect. So I think just my connection to the song is different. When I hear the original production, I think of like all the hours spent in a cabin and like my home office and my studio, tweaking the production, doing different versions, and just spending hours being alone, trying to set reminders to get up and pee and drink water and eat because I just was getting in such a zone.
Yeah.
And then when I hear the live versions, I think of how wonderful that live recording was at the quarry. So my connection to it is a little bit unique.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I know that you have to
Mm.
run to another interview. So my last question is that if there was a young musician or an upcoming musician listening to this who was
Mhm.
so excited to finally see themselves represented, or to finally identify with someone in Christian music, and they were hesitant about putting their hand up or being vulnerable for fear it would sound desperate, what would you say to them?
That's so good. That's so good. And I don't say this to everyone, Jess, because I so typically an interview is right there, it's back to back, but I so enjoy our conversations that if you wanted to ask another question afterward, I have a little bit of extra time, so you are welcome to. I to answer your question though, I think when it comes to creating, we have to remember that it's a calling more so than a career. Um, it's very non-traditional. It's very unconventional. If you feel called to a life in songwriting or production, I mean, know that you are doing it for more than um, accolades, success, money, any of that stuff. It's first and foremost a calling, and it's not always the case, but it can be a really enjoyable process. Like I know songwriting, and I know the production process and the promotion process, and some people don't enjoy interviews as much as I do. It's not all as my Aussie father-in-law would say, it's not always beer and skittles. So I get that. Apparently people from Toowoomba, Australia say that.
There we go.
Um, but I think sometimes it's easy to confuse our calling as songwriters for a career. And it's important to be structured and disciplined and to treat it as you would any other job, but also to remember to have fun and to have an authentic experience when you're working on lyrics. And um, that producer, after hearing Known Seen Loved, said that it was desperate, but at the same time I played it for a friend and her mom, and they both cried at the end and said it sounds so desperate, and it's exactly what I needed to hear. And so if you're doing what God calls you to do, and you're writing what God calls you to say, and you truly believe what it is that you're saying, then it doesn't matter if people say it's trash or it's genius. You kind of come back to this place of like, well, I co-created that in a moment where I was receiving as much from it as I was giving. And I think it puts us in our proper place of knowing that we serve a God who is far more creative and far more innovative um, than we are on our own.
Yeah. I'm remembering that as well, just for even my writing and communications. Thank you. That was really, really good. Thank you.
Of course.
Okay, my extra last question, which I'm going to choose
Extra
on the
last
spot from my page. Um,
question.
let me ask, when you were growing up and you
Mm,
were listening to Christian music, if you listen to Christian music, who were the artists that you really identified with? Because I know now
mm.
that you've actually become that artist for lots of other people. So who were the people who really inspired you or made you want to enter Christian music aside from secular
Hmm,
music?
that's really good. Um, So I didn't really listen to Christian music growing up, to be honest. My dad is he's a retired judge now, but he was a judge and he grew up, playing the bass and was very into funk and jazz and is a true snob of a musician.
Yeah.
So he actually didn't allow me to listen to anything that wasn't incredibly musically complex. So I grew up listening to a lot of, Al Jarreau, Stevie Wonder, Earth, Wind and Fire, Shaka Khan, Sade, um, Steely Dan, just, kind of just, I guess it's not like the coolest thing now, but growing up, that was my world. And I take it back. I think it's cooler than ever. I think their music is still relevant and poignant and connecting even today. And so really it wasn't until I was introduced to an artist named Selena. And I think Jackie Velasquez was around the same time. And she was probably the only Christian artist that I was exposed to. And that was mainly because she sung in Spanish, and I bet my parents just really wanted me to like learn Spanish. But she had some beautiful songs as well. But so there was something about seeing Selena um, as a Mexican American woman. I think I just sometimes you cannot be what you cannot see, and I think I needed to really see that someone like me could be in a position where they're singing and writing and sharing music with other people for that seed to be planted. But the truth is, I never planned to be a musician. I never planned to be a recording artist or anything like that. I really have always loved the world of academia, and so I wanted to become a lawyer. I had started a pre-law program at a university out in California right before moving to Nashville and putting all of that on pause. So, yeah, I have friends who are musicians who like all they ever wanted to do was be a worship leader or a singer or an artist. And I can't relate to that. Um, but I think that's something that I used to be. I think that's something that I thought used to be a detriment or a weakness, but I actually think it's a strength because now when I step into environments where I'm leading worship or I am singing or playing an instrument, I don't find my identity in that thing. I, if anything, I have to really push myself to, you know, sing or lead worship or be in an environment where I am, serving people with my voice because it's not natural to me. I get stage fright. I still struggle with stage fright. And so when I step into those spaces, I don't perform. I can't perform. I try my very best to be as honest in the moment as I can be. And sometimes that looks like, you know, telling people it's hard for me to sing, so I'm going to need you to sing this instead, and just turning the mic around. Or like,
Yeah.
some of my favorite moments have been in times where I just feel completely out of my depth. Um, but that being said, I appreciate your encouragement even at the beginning of this call, um, about my heritage. We're at the tail end of Hispanic Heritage Month, and something I've been considering in this time is the presence of Hispanics, particularly Hispanic women, in this space, in the genre of faith music, and I want to see more of it. I want to see more. More artists leaning into spaces where they might be underrepresented, and that means being prepared to step into rooms where you're the only one, and being okay with that. It's interesting. My friend and I were just doing a research paper, and we found that I think there was a Pew Research survey that said that 75% of Hispanics in the United States believe that most people can get ahead if they work hard. And that's compared to only 58% of the general public. And so I think there's this cultural idea that if you just work hard and wait, good things will come to you. And I think that there's a huge part of that that's really beautiful. And I think it's part of what makes the Hispanic culture so marked by humility, is just this idea that you can work hard and serve and just wait for good things to come your way. And they often do, but I also think that there are some industries where we need to work hard and not wait. Work
Yeah.
hard and don't wait for some record label to come and like offer you this big deal. Like, put it out yourself. Start serving where and when you can, and don't be afraid to step into spaces where there's nobody really there that looks like you. That's okay. God is calling you into places where you need to be, and where God guides, He provides.
So good. Thank you, Mariah. Thank you. It's so lovely to see your face, and
Oh,
to see the fruit of your faithfulness and your hard work. Congratulations. This
thank you.
interview will come out to coincide with the EP release. So everyone, go and get Live from the Quarry right now. You're welcome. Links are in the show notes. Thank you so much, Mariah.
Thank you, Jessica. It was so nice to see you in person.
My
And I hope that
pleasure.
I get to see you in person at some point, not
Oh,
just on a screen. It'd be great to see
please,
you here in
Jesus, that would
Nashville.
be great. Yes, that would be wonderful. All right, I'll talk to you
Yeah.
soon. Bye.
Bye.